co-founder of DLA Ignite. With me today, I have got Nicole Bradford. And what we're going to be doing is talking about the importance of igniting your flame of life.
Yes.
I'm excited about this, Nicole. Nicole, where can people find you?
Well, they can always reach out to me by visiting the website at www.maintaintheflame, all one word, .net.
And should I call you doctor?
Oh, whatever you're comfortable with. I'm fine.
So, Nicole, just give us a little potted history about about your journey to today. Because, as I say, you're a doctor. You've published. You're an author. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Well, I started out as this little young lady, the youngest of 6 children. My family had modest beginnings. My parents did, but they were very successful towards the end of their lives. I grew up in Austin. My journey began on the college campus, and I was a first generation college graduate. So I grew up in a home, unfortunately, where I've witnessed domestic violence. I had individuals that went in and out of the criminal justice system, family members that participated or had situations with drugs. And so I needed to have that opportunity to get out of that environment and try something different for my life. So I was the only one that went to college. And while I was in college, I did my BS and my MS in criminal justice, and I completed my doctoral degree in educational leadership. So my career began on the college campus, where I was a staff member and I worked my way up to vice president of student services. And then I transitioned to public school, and I was there a teacher, and I worked my way up to assistant principal and campus principal. And so I've always had a desire to connect with others, to motivate and inspire others. I believe my purpose in light in my life is to ignite change. And so that's what I focus on with the business, Maintain the Flame. And so I've written a journal, and it's just a small little journal that helps people take one step towards their goals and dreams. And I'm in the process of preparing to release and publish my book, My Soul Is Not for Sale.
It's a wonderful title. I was going to ask you about My Soul Is Not for Sale. Why did you come up for that with that title?
Well, I think that title has, number one, always been inside of me, and I never understood why. And I wasn't prepared to write about it. But I think after going through the challenges in life, and this book applies to relationships that you may have, it applies to your workplace and just a society as a whole, knowing the importance of holding on to your integrity when you live in a world that anything goes. And so you have to, at some point in time, come up with your non-negotiables, set up those boundaries, and say, my soul is not for sale.
And so I've not read the book. And for people watching and listening in, just give us a bit quick précis of what you cover in that.
Well, I talk about, at the beginning, we talk about being new and naive. And I think that also ties into life. We transition from our public school days, and then we come into this world of adulting. It's time to do the adulting thing. And then when we're dealing with that, we begin to transition. And unfortunately, we have to conform to society. And so in the book, I talk a little bit about there's a term that I use, L-KIBS, where you're going to deal with little kids in big bodies. And that's all of us. We still have that little child and that kid inside of us, but some people you're going to encounter has not dealt with their issues. And so you have to have strategies in order to know how to work with them and to exist with them. And then also in the book, we talk about biases that are in the building. Unfortunately, we have subconsciously biases that need to be addressed. We need to have those courageous conversations. And so the book touches on that a little bit and talks about the importance of addressing those biases. And then the last thing, my sister, I'm number 6, she was number 5. Whenever I had issues and problems in life, she would tell me, hey, Nicole, I want you to grab a toilet tissue roll. role. And I know that's a little different, but I want you to write down all of your challenges, your problems, your frustrations, things you're angry with. And I want you to reflect on them. I want you to review them. I want you to know your role in those situations, pray about it, and then I want you to ball it up and flush it. So, flush stands for facing life's uncomfortable situations and heal. And if you're not able to do that, it's going to be very difficult for you to design the life that you desire.
So one of the things that we talked about in our preparation call was that you talk about trying to break away from lies, labels, and limitations.
Yes.
Talk us through that.
Well, when we talk about the lies, the labels, and limitations, we all know that in life, there are going to be lies that may be said about you. Maybe you left a job, or maybe you left a relationship. And there's always two sides to a situation. But we can't focus on their version or their narrative. You have to know exactly what happened and what transpired and be okay with yourself. So, those lies, those labels that are placed on you when you challenge other authorities or you stand up to what's right, for what's right, and then those limitations. And you have to understand that the lies, the labels, and the limitations do not define you. And you have to put that in perspective and be able to move forward. But also understanding sometimes the limitations that we have in life are self imposed limitations. So we want to make sure that we're reviewing everything so we can move forward after looking at the lies, the labels, and limitations and coming up with strategies so that we can be successful.
I think I've seen a lot of people have limitations,
Mhm.
and I've seen that a lot. Where the phrase I would use is the people are scared of heights. That they go so far in life and then they kind of hit a barrier, and then they kind, whether it's self doubt or whatever, they kind of talk themselves that they're not good enough, whatever, and they're not able to keep rising.
Yes, yes, and I agree with that. And that's the biggest problem I believe with all of us. And I think people need to understand. People outside, you may walk around and you think, "Oh my gosh, they got it together. Why is it that everybody's just doing these great things? What's wrong with me? Why can't I get it together?" But a lot of people wear these. We put on these persona. We have these facades that, oh, it's great on the outside, but you're dying on the inside. And I think it's important that we all realize we all have potential. It's inside of you, and you were placed on this earth for a purpose.
Yeah.
So you just have to seek that purpose. You have to understand that the potential lies within you, and you just have to go for it, because that success, as we've already heard several times, is on the other side of fear. But sometimes we talk ourselves out of the greatest situations, and we would never know the difference because we're not willing to take that chance.
So you have um, I don't know whether to call it a mantra or you use a word called maintain, don't you? And
Yes.
each of the letters actually means something. So
Mhm.
let's walk through what that. So let's look at the M. So talk to us about what the M of maintain means.
Well, maintain is just an acronym that I came up with to help people utilize these strategies to design the life that you desire. Now, there's no particular order. What's important is that you just find something that resonates with you and you just go forward with it. And so, for the M, that is mindset. And we all know the power that we have in our mind. We allow our mind to talk us out of some of the greatest things. Like, you could be in a store and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I've always wanted to talk to her. We're not in the meeting space anymore, but I don't think she'll like me," or "I don't know what to say," or "I've always wanted to go for this promotion, but I'm not smart enough. I've only done this a couple of years," or "I'm new with the company." And so we have to shift our mindset and understand that you do deserve those items that you want. And but the difference is you've got to be willing to pursue it. So you can't just have that fixed mindset that, "I'm 65 now, life is over, I'll try it next time around." No, you've got to go for it while you have the moment. So make sure you have a growth mindset. Step out of your comfort zone. It's okay, and go for what you desire. But growth mindset, being positive, having those affirmations, and taking a chance is important. So shift that mindset.
So the A of maintain.
Yes, taking action. So we sit here and we talk about things. I've always wanted to go after and start my own business. I've always wanted to do whatever it is. You fill in the blank. But you know what? My kids are in college. I spent all my money on them. But it's time for you. So you need to take action towards your goals and your dreams and your desires. So if for me, I'll be 50 this year and I want to lose weight. So it's not saying that I can run a marathon because I definitely can't do that. But what I can do is start taking action steps to get me closer to my goal.
And I think often people want to go from 0 to 100.
Exactly.
And actually, what it is, it's about going from 0 to 1, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
So in your maintain acronym, there's what the I. What's the I stand for?
I is being intentional. You have to be intentional with designing and coming up with the life that you desire. So set those goals and be intentional to work towards those goals every day. And also being intentional with relationships. That's very important. Unfortunately, a lot of us may have relationships with individuals that we want to pursue, or maybe relationships that have died out or that's in the past. Go up ahead and rekindle that flame, connect with those individuals so that you can have that support system that is needed.
Relationships are hard work,
Oh my goodness, yes.
and you have to put the hard work in, but you get the benefits
No, yes, sorry.
of it. N of maintain.
N is for nurture, nurture, and nurture some more. In life, we spend so much time giving and pouring into everybody else. And, as caretakers, as individuals, you have to take time to take care of yourself. I know for me, unfortunately, from 2019 to 2022, I took care of my parents. And it was very, very difficult for me because you have these pillars of strength. These are my two cheerleaders that were just everything in my life, and they were declining. And so that was very difficult for me because I needed to be there for them, get them to the doctor's appointments, give them their medications. My dad had several strokes. My mom had Parkinson's. So I had to understand that I need to be there to support them as their caregiver. But I also have to pull back sometimes and take care of Nicole, because if I didn't take care of myself, those nights when she would wake up or those nights that they had difficulty, I wouldn't be able to give them 110%. So nurture yourself. If it's reading a book, if it's taking a walk, or just coming in at the end of the day and soaking your feet, you deserve it. Make sure to nurture yourself.
Yeah, I'm certainly at an age where I've got elderly parents as well, and we've moved. You go through this point with elderly parents where they're the parents and you're the child, and
Yes.
then you swap over, don't you? Where they become the children and you become the parent,
Yes.
and
And then you understand.
that's always very difficult.
Oh my goodness, yes, but it helped me to understand why they were the way they were when I was younger, because I became so protective of them.
So let's move on to the T. So the T is very similar to nurture, isn't it? But about protect your time.
Time. Your time is very important. And when I talk about time, it's time in living in the moments, because my time with my parents, you don't get that back. Our time with our children and our friends and our loved ones, protect that time. And so when you're thinking about the time that you have, I know we give 190% to work and we want to be there. We want to show up and do everything for them. But then we have our loved ones, or we have our children that, mommy, today I'm in a play. Well, I really need to get this project done. You don't get that time back. You don't get those moments back. So you're going to have to be able to tell your job, I'll give you everything I have while I'm here. But outside of that, I have people that are depending on me, and I need to show up for them the same way I'm showing up for you.
And it's about having those boundaries, isn't it? And
That's right. Yes.
protecting your time,
Mhm.
because time accelerates.
Yes, it does.
Well, you've already shared what your age is.
Yes.
Just time just goes so quickly.
It does. Yes. And you don't get those moments back. And I always say I'm the youngest of six. My oldest sister, I think she'll be 64 this year. And I get a little envious of them. You had more time with my parents than I did, but I don't get those moments back. So protect that time with everything you have.
And I think some of the things, talking about relationships, my father passed away in 2022,
I'm sorry.
you know, I what I wanted to do was make sure that those he had Parkinson's and
Mhm.
dementia, but I wanted to make sure that I was there for him
That's right.
because I didn't want to get to the other side where he passed away, and I suddenly and thought, oh, I wish I'd spent more time with him.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
we are very lucky that we were
Oh,
actually able to hold their hands and say, I love you.
yes. Yes. And be there for them as they transition. They were there for you your entire life. And those last moments to them are just, it makes a difference for them and it provides the support that they need. And it helps them that, hey, I did something right. They're
Hmm,
here hanging with me through this journey.
hmm. There was one particular moment when it was just before my exams at 15 at school, where I was
Mhm.
helping my dad. He was a beekeeper, and he was collecting a swarm, and I basically was helping him collect the swarm. And they tagged me,
Oh, wow.
and so it was just like a cartoon, a cartoon where the swarm just basically, and I was basically running into the house, and my father, because the best way is not so my father was hitting me around the head, which is trying to kill the things, and I was in the exam the next day, I was still picking the stings out
Oh,
my anyway when um in the final year of his life, he actually said to me, I'm really sorry about it, and I said, oh, don't worry about it. And
oh,
he said, "But I've been really worried that you were hurt." So I said, "Oh, come on, you know." I said, "We laugh about. I said, it's something to laugh
yes,
about."
yes.
And
Mhm,
that's one of the things about you having being lucky to
mhm,
actually spend some time to actually to explain some of those things
yes,
and actually have those conversations.
it's important.
So A of maintain.
Being authentic. So, maintain the flame is about being audaciously authentic. Sometimes in life, we are trying to find out where we fit in. And so, while we're fitting in this environment, we'll act like they say when in Rome, act like the Romans. But we're losing so much of ourselves because we're trying to force ourselves into different areas or in different environments where we really don't belong. And so, making sure you show up in your authentic self instead of allowing the world to define who you are. You set the standard and you do what makes you happy.
Yeah, and I think authenticity. I think it's a word that's used an awful lot.
Yes.
And I think it's become like a trendy word, but
Mm,
it is so important that you are who you are, and you're
yes.
not trying to be somebody else.
Correct. Yes.
We're nearly getting to the end of this. So of the maintain word, we've got the I.
I integrity. And then I cannot say that enough, especially with everything that's going on in our world today. You have to hold on to your integrity. But what's important is knowing that it has a consequence. So you have to stand for what's right. You can't go along to get along, but holding on to that integrity is important. And that's tied into my book, My Soul is Not for Sale. I'm not going to give up a part of who I am just for you to accept me. I have to stand in my truth.
And that integrity and moral compass is so important, isn't it?
That's right. Yes.
And I think in the complex world that we live in today, it is even more so.
I agree.
And so we've got through maintain right to the final N. So what's the final N?
The final N is non negotiables and no regrets. So when you have your non negotiables, you sit down with yourself and you'll say, I'm going to have healthy boundaries with everyone around me because I'm going to protect myself. I always think about it as the little Nicole. And for me, being an educator for over 2 decades, I do everything to try to protect my students, my babies. I love them so much. But you think about that little inner child that you have. And just like you protect and you support everyone else, protect that inner child and come up with those non negotiables that are healthy for you so that you can live a life of no regrets.
I think that's so important. It's so important that people have no regrets.
Yes.
And it's just one of those things that you need to you have to be able to live with yourself,
Yes.
take responsibility for what you've done.
Hmm.
I mean, whatever you stole some biscuits out of a biscuit
Yes.
tin or whatever, when you were a child, but you
Mhm.
shouldn't regret it. It's what children do.
Exactly.
And so, clearly I'm trivializing some of the things you may want, but using it as a simple example.
Mhm.
Nicole, I think it's your strategy for maintain. I think is a really great methodology for people in their lives.
Thank you.
And you've clearly been on an amazing journey and given this so much thought.
Oh, yes, it's very important to me because I think if we can just ignite that flame, we all have it inside of us. Because when you were little, you had this excitement and this zeal for life, and nothing was going to hold you back. And I'm going to go to this school, I'm going to pursue what I'm interested in. But then we start to lose that flame and that passion when we transition to adult world. And I just want to inspire others to remember that potential that you have inside of you. It may be deep down inside of you, but it's important. And as you are going through this journey, that integrity piece, as you mentioned, that moral compass is very important. I used to tell my kids all the time when they were younger, I want you to think about all the stuff you do when you're hanging out with your friends and when you're with everyone. But I want you to think about those moments when you go into your bedroom, mommy and daddy's not there, your friends are not there. How do you feel as a person? And I think we need to do that as an adult. If we close that door to society and to the world, and we think about all the things that we're involved in, does it really align with who you truly are? And if it does not, you need to make some changes so that you can have the life that you desire.
Nicole, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us today. It's been really insightful. It's fantastic what you've been sharing, and very uplifting for people as well. Remind people where they can get hold of you.
Well, you can always reach out to me. I'm at www.maintaintheflame, all one word, .net.
And your book, is that available?
It will be available towards the middle of August. And it will
August 2024. Yeah.
be, yes, yes, sir. And it'll be in
Excellent.
Barnes and Nobles, Amazon. It's going to be